So we did a really bad Lindsay Lohan movie. We felt that wasn't doing Lindsay Lohan justice, so we did a better Lindsay Lohan movie.
Now, is this the only good Lindsay Lohan movie?
You watch your mouth, Steve. You watch your mouth.
I'm just
there's also Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't
Yeah.
seen Mean Girls, so I can't.
Well,
tell that
tune
one.
in
this
2
is-
weeks for the episode of Mean Girls.
Like, it's been too long, Steve. We're watching Mean Girls
We have
right
to.
after this.
We have to.
It's free on YouTube right now. We can
No.
watch it.
No,
We're doing Mean Girls.
We did a
Next week on the
holiday.
podcast.
Lindsay Lohan. We did, and today we're doing a
Baby
adolescent
Lohan. Yeah.
Lohan,
Yes,
and then we'll do a teenage
Yeah.
Lohan, and then we've covered the Lohans. We don't
and then
have to
no
go back
more
to it.
fucking Lohan.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I'm sick of these movies.
Do you agree to those terms?
Sure, but Steve, don't shit on Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Mean Girls is
I
an
didn't
amazing
say a
movie.
damn thing about Mean
You
Girls.
wouldn't be allowed to make it now, but it's a great movie.
They're literally making it right now.
Yeah, no, the new one apparently is terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
shocker.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Oh,
we remade a
shocker.
movie from the 90s. I wonder if it'll be good.
Instead of talking about the movie today, why don't we just talk about all the sequels that ruined franchises? Start listing all of the sequels to most things.
Pretty much.
Here's a controversial one: The Godfather Part 2.
Yeah. It's just those people
some
on the
would
internet.
say that's a better movie.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, but
Should have stopped it.
but if there was no original Godfather, then how would they have making,
How would they have made a sequel if there wasn't an original?
And would the sequel? It wouldn't have even had a chance to be a cinematic masterpiece. It's like, just shut up. They both were good movies. They were just done 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you put out a second movie that's terrible, maybe it'll make people like the first one more.
Oh,
I think that's their goal.
Yeah.
Draw more attention to Mean Girls by
Yeah.
recreating Mean Girls.
Right, and then people are going to go back and be like, you know what, I want to watch Mean Girls.
know what?
'cause that one was better.
the original was better. Let's just go get that. Where is it? Oh, not on any streaming services when the new one comes out, so you have to buy it?
Oh, man.
Whoa.
Gotta buy it from your local Suncoast Video. Those aren't a thing
Not a
anymore.
thing. I have my
Your local Blockbuster Video.
I have my
Oh my
Blockbuster card in my wallet.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
think
show
you're
it
better
off
than
all the
everyone
time.
else.
I am better than
Sometimes you
everyone
try and
else.
pay for drinks at a bar with that thing.
I just flash it. They go, I get ID'd at a bar. I just show my Blockbuster card, and they're like, all right, can we get a stool for this gentleman?
No, you walk into like a government building, you flash your Blockbuster video card, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! That's too much clearance."
He's
dude.
voted in at least 3 presidencies. He's well enough old.
No. He's got full clearance. Speaking of full clearance, we did the Parent Trap.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, good
I like
good
that.
segue.
That was a very
Yeah.
good segue.
We did the Parent Trap. This was a childhood favorite, I think, of all of ours, except for Michael.
I don't think. No, mine too.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. I don't think anybody that currently is 25 to 65 hasn't seen this movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of the.
This is
like,
a summertime classic.
It's just a classic.
Yeah.
It is. I loved this movie when I was younger. I don't exactly know why, going back and watching it again, I didn't realize how much of this movie, is like, they're really horny in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sex stuff I didn't pay much attention to as a kid. But too, it's actually pretty cheesy too at the same time. And like, I don't know. I never really was into
It really
that,
paints a
but-
good picture of divorce.
Oh yeah. Oh, this
Is
is how
what it
a
does.
lot of broken families look
Yeah.
like.
Classic divorce story.
Both parents end up rich. You both end up with an identical daughter, so it doesn't matter which one you take.
Just
It's
pick
like-
one.
it's like,
They're the
okay.
same.
We're gonna write a movie. What do you want in it? All of the plot conveniences.
All of it.
Yes.
All of them.
Yeah.
All right, the mother's gonna be a millionaire fashion designer in
Elizabeth
London,
Taylor.
and the father's gonna be a millionaire vineyard owner in California.
Not to be confused with Anne.
Yeah.
Can't be.
Anne Taylor was her cousin.
No, Ann Taylor didn't exist in this movie.
Okay, fine.
No. We're not giving Ann Taylor credit for anything.
All right, she makes good clothes though.
All right. Well, this is a
Not
thrift shop.
That's not professional women's attire. So
I mean, it could be.
My sweater's H&M.
So I'm not.
All right, Michael. What brand is your shirt?
I don't know. Amazon. They make clothes.
They do, yes.
Anyway, this is a film that I don't remember why everybody had this movie in their living room on VHS. That's just how it was. Like everybody had this movie.
I think it was because of the soundtrack.
It's got a great soundtrack.
The soundtrack was
It's
fantastic.
a fucking banging soundtrack.
It's pretty good.
But it's also one of those movies you could just throw on and it doesn't matter because you can understand the plot just by glancing it every 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not like there's any like twists and turns that get thrown into the plot. It's like, hey, we're gonna get our parents back together, and even when you think they're not gonna get back together, 2 seconds later, you're don't worry, everybody, your nerves are calmed because
you
they're
don't
gonna
have
get the
time
parents
to go,
back together.
It's like, okay,
They're like,
well, they're
oh
doing
no,
it.
she's going back to London. Oh, look, Lindsay Lohan's already there. Hey, Mom, did you know if you fly the red eye, you'll get here like 4 hours earlier? Yeah.
Concorde gets you in half the time.
What's Concorde?
The Concorde was a jet.
I just know it as grapes.
It was one of the first, maybe not one of the first, but it was the commercial passenger jet that broke the sound barrier.
Oh.
That's why it had the nose that tipped
God,
down.
these freaking millionaires and their sound barrier breaking jets.
It was a commercial, like, so you could fly on the Concorde, and they put the nose down because it the sonic boom.
It's
it
flying like
diffused.
this the whole time.
No, the nose literally just folded so that the sonic boom would be less because it changed the. I'm not going to get it.
Yeah, don't explain aeronautics to me.
Yeah,
Aeronautics.
That's a word, right?
but getting across the Atlantic in half the time is a stretch.
Yeah,
You'd make up some serious time, but not half.
Not half.
Not half.
and then how did I think Lindsay Lohan is good at B&Es because she somehow got into that house. Like, I think she just like broke a window and opened the back door.
And there was family members in on it.
Yeah. They called ahead.
It's like the perfect splitting. Even the families like each other. Oh my God, we're gonna get our daughter back together.
Now, I will say, we have to break. So movies are in 2 categories, in my opinion.
Okay.
They either don't have any montages, or they have 14 montages. So that's the only criteria for movies.
Yeah, montage or no montage.
Or no. Was it a non-montage movie? Yeah. Oh.
Wow, that's
Wow.
a great film.
No montage. Wow. Wow.
You don't get that nowadays.
This one might be quite the cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah. The classic Rocky training montage, all those, yeah.
And, because this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
A few montages going on in the 90s. There was a few. There was a few films that had montages in the 90s.
I can't put my finger on it, but there was a few.
Yeah, I think
Michael, montages show the passing of time, okay? They show character development in half the time.
Why would I want to see the character grow when I could just see him grow over the period of 14,000 cuts?
It's like, this is the editor's fast forward button.
So you're saying this was a montage movie?
Oh, there was a lot of montages.
Oh, yeah.
No, they were all positive.
They're all good montages.
Well, this movie, there's not... Clearly, everybody, I'm sure, has seen this movie. There's not a whole lot to the plot.
Nope.
The title of the movie does give away the plot.
No, it makes it
2
sound more
words,
sinister. It's like,
Parent
it's
Trap.
the Parent Trap.
Rated G.
You have 120 seconds to trap your parents before the room fills with a deadly nerve gas. You must make your parents fall back in love.
This is Saw, Parent Trap.
The Parent Trap. Saw 11.
If you don't, we're only getting store-brand cereal for the next 5 years.
If you don't get your parents to fuck, you get coal for Christmas.
No. It was way more than physical intimacy. It was they had to get the state to sign off on their relationship again. There was contracts involved.
It's like, listen, you guys already split up once. We don't want to go through this again.
Not happening.
I will say that you can pretty much break down this movie into 3 sections. It's the
Summer camp.
the summer camp section.
I want to go to that summer camp. I'm not gonna lie. This is the coolest summer camp. Like all mine were just like tents out in the woods.
Yeah, this is rich people summer camp.
And they had like porta potties, and they're like, "Good luck."
But it's summer camp, the swap, and then the get together.
Yeah.
That's how this movie breaks down.
Speaking of the summer camp,
Yeah.
I want to be the one boy that got stuck at the all-girls summer camp. That's what I want to be.
I want to know who made that clerical error.
Yeah, right.
Like, you think that would be like, you can't just leave that little kid in a bunk full of women.
His name was Jamie. They were like, yeah, just let him in. I guess we'll find out when they get here.
Yeah, it'll be fine. No, but I love that they have 2 kids basically sword fighting each other throughout the entire camp.
No training.
No training.
No, it was legit
supervising.
too. Like it's a legit scene
Yeah.
of fencing. It's like what the
I kind of
heck?
wondered, did they actually have children who knew how to fence, or was it just like 2 really short ladies who knew how to fence? Like,
You know?
their stunt doubles were really great throughout this whole movie.
Yeah. Especially for the water cannon scene.
Yeah.
She gets shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve's just adding stuff to this movie. that-
Yeah. I was making it more interesting.
Yeah. I think he took like some acid before we watched this, but
Oh, it was great.
They had a Mexican standoff with a duel later on.
Yeah,
It was-
Clint Eastwood came in. He's like, "How many bullets did I shoot?"
But the whole fencing thing is just another way that they can have 2 of them in the same shot, and they don't have to do the work of, cutting it together. So they just were like, what can we do that we can cover their face? Fencing. I don't know. That was like the first thing they thought of.
Well, they did do a really good job, and especially for in the 90s. Well, I mean, the technology was there, but it was much more rudimentary. And then they did the audio in Pro Tools for this movie.
They did the audio in Pro Tools.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that little tidbit.
Yeah, did you look that up?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that's weird.
Yeah, they did it with Pro Tools. It was kind of neat
Now, as a
It's,
person versed in Pro Tools,
because the actors in the scenes where there was just a replacement for Lindsay Lohan.
yeah,
So they had her other lines timed in their earpieces.
Oh, I see.
And things like
Okay.
that. And
Yeah.
they had like, I think it was a bunch, probably like 8 or 12 girls with the same color hair, same haircut, and the same height,
Jeez.
as stand-ins for different things. And they did a really good job
Yeah.
of that, because
No, I mean, we even said that. Like,
Yeah.
we were surprised at how good, like,
Well, think
the
about-
green screen splitting of the scenes was.
think about the when we did the Santa Claus, to reference a previous episode, try to keep it in the family, like when we did the Santa Claus, when Santa goes down the chimney and we see that 90s CGI, we were like, oh,
It's like, that's rough.
It's
boy,
bad.
that we didn't realize how rough it was. And then to see this, not a full CGI thing,
Right.
but like it was done well. And there wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any, like, there was no CGIing of her face onto somebody else's face. Like, that's not where the
I
technology
didn't
was.
think you could do that.
Yeah, it's a little
you know.
bit more of like, maybe they blended some edges. They
it's-
had some green screens.
It's almost crazy. It's like when you put something on film, it looks better than trying to animate something on film.
Yeah.
When you do it practically,
Yeah.
it looks practical.
No, and
Crazy.
like, I'll give it to, like, we couldn't see the split down
Yeah, no.
like down the middle. Like if they had like a plate in there, if they just had
Right.
like an actor there, when you could clearly see Lindsay Lohan's face on
The-
both people.
The main thing is we're not looking for it
Right.
because it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of
Mhm.
it's kind of neat when if there's something lacking, you try to always find holes in
Mhm.
it, but if you're engaged in it, you overlook a ton of stuff. And
Right.
in this one there really wasn't anything to overlook anyways.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing I didn't notice as much that I paid attention to this time was Lindsay Lohan didn't do the best job at like keeping her characters separate. She was like 10. But like
She's 10 and playing two different parts
yeah,
in the same
she's-
movie and scenes with herself.
Right.
So
she's doing like, the fake British accent, and that is where she really slipped up for me. Like
Mm.
you could tell, obviously, when they do their switch, they're switching accents. So like
Right.
it would make a little bit more sense if she slipped up then. But I'm thinking more of like in the scenes where they're just talking to each other, a lot of times she just falls back into her normal like American accent.
Right.
And she loses the British a little bit, or it just sounds kind of wonky. But other than that, they did do a good job at like keeping the characters like as their own personalities almost.
Great. We're going to have that one guy who commented just come back in and be like, yeah, no, her fucking accent sucked.
Yeah.
I
She should have worked
mean,
for the better. She was 9. Leave her alone.
you can blame that on the director more than like
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's her
yeah,
fault.
no.
It's definitely more direction, but yeah. That
Well,
was the one thing I noticed.
My thing that I noticed is this camp should be shut down because it locked 2 identical twin girls in a cabin in the middle of the woods that they clearly had to march like it looked like a 10-mile march to get these to get them out to the isolation cabin.
Well, it can't be an isolation cabin if it's not isolated.
Yeah, but how like isn't there like an OSHA for like
No, it was the 90s,
for
Steve.
like summer camps?
Did you not go to a summer camp when you were a kid?
No, I went to band camp.
That doesn't count as human
What do you mean it doesn't count as human?
because it's not okay.
I had to march around in 90-degree heat and also deal with emotions of other teenagers.
for your free public education.
Yeah, I never did any summer camp or anything like that.
No,
I never did an overnight camp.
I did summer camp, and they're in cabins like that, and they have a water slide into the lake, and we didn't do any fencing, but they had activities.
Okay,
Also,
so
it was
Michael
the 90s.
went to rich people summer
Yeah,
camp,
yeah.
clearly.
So I'm not speaking to the poors right now.
Michael went to Canadian summer camp where they had to
Yeah.
fight caribou
With their fists.
and stab.
We had to have a cabin or we'd freeze to death because everybody had to have a fireplace inside. But
Their only activity was ice fishing and caribou killing.
and hide tanning.
But I mean, clearly this is a rich
Yeah,
kid
it's a
camp.
nice summer camp.
They sent them there for 2 months.
It's
That's all of summer, and most of the kids, I'm guessing, were flying there because they both like flew from, across
Yeah,
country.
I mean, okay, why would a lady in London send her kid to a summer camp? Like, where was the summer
Camp
camp?
Walden?
Yeah,
Camp for girls?
yeah.
It's obviously the top-ranked summer
But
camp
where
for
Yeah.
girls.
is it?
It's
I'm
in
sure
Maine.
It's in Maine.
It's a real camp.
So they flew her from London to Maine, and then the other girl from California to Maine. That's
Yeah.
insane. Why would you just send them to a summer camp in
Because
London?
people with money don't think about
right, I forgot.
travel. That's just how that works.
They're rich,
Steve.
Steve.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Sorry,
Most of this movie works because they're rich.
And
I wasn't born with a silver
If
spoon
they-
in my butt. Is that the saying?
me neither, but I like airplanes. But it just gets rid of all the, well, how did they do that? No.
Money.
She's a famous wedding
Right.
dress designer. He owns a vineyard.
Money.
They're going to take
Money.
cross-planetary flights several times as, single-digit age girls, and it's going to be fine.
Yes.
They're rich enough for the wormholes.
But
Straight to Maine.
anyway, at this summer camp, 2 girls end up sword fighting each other to the death. They don't end up killing each other. And upon revealing of their faces, they realize they look shockingly similar.
And this is another moment where you're like, do we need to explain the fact that you're twins?
Yeah, like
they
this is like a huge revelation later on in the movie. It's like, no, Hallie, we're twins. It's like, no shit, you're fucking twins. You know how you look exactly the same?
exactly the same. That doesn't just happen, okay? There's absolutely no chance of anything else except for the fact that you're twins.
There's a funny line in the original Parent Trap from like 1961. It's like, that girl has your same face. It's funny. It's funny.
Hallie, why did you steal my face?
It's just a prequel to Game of Thrones. That's it.
Oh my god. I must take your face so I can become you.
It's just a skinwalker that steals your face.
Welcome back to the camp, Hallie. You have 120 seconds to remove this
We
girl's
just wanted
face.
this to be a horror film, okay?
It was too lovey-dovey for us.
Oh my god. Yeah, so they meet, they find out they're twins. That's basically the first half of this movie.
Yeah.
Then
they both like Oreos with peanut butter.
Yeah,
Yep,
and the
got to.
best scene is the ear piercing scene.
That's
Yep.
that's a classic.
That one, as a kid, like kind of makes your
He was
heart
like,
race a little bit because
"Whoa."
you're like, oh my god. They're
And
like,
their parents don't know she's getting
yeah,
her ears
she's getting her
pierced.
ears
God.
pierced.
And then their parents are like okay with
They're
it.
totally
Yeah.
cool.
This is not normal.
I
There would
love
have been violence after that.
Is it the dad or the mom? And she's like, any other tattoos or piercings I should
Yeah,
know?
the mom goes, well, any belly rings, tattoos? No, no, silly.
Yeah. But while they're at this camp and they figure out they're twins, they come up with the genius idea to swap places because Hallie wants to meet her mom and Annie wants to meet her dad.
Yep.
So they're like, well, we look enough alike. There's definitely not subtleties of our family that we can't possibly explain to each other, but that's fine. We'll switch.
Yeah.
And that's
Parent trap.
Well,
there's
they
your
had-
parent trap.
They had a month and a half to prepare.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah,
have
that's true.
plenty of time.
They had plenty of time to
I could
study.
become you in
Yeah.
about 2 months, I think.
No, you could never be me.
I could walk into a convenience store and be like, yeah, who's sucking? Let's go.
That's not. I don't do that. It's way more tactful.
Oh, sorry.
But so they train each other in, like, this is the layout of my house. These are the people I know.
Right,
like,
right.
The secret handshake thing
In
between
a
her and her butler.
Montage.
Yeah, that's probably montage number 1.
Dum da dum da dum da dum da montage.
That's what it feels like in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they now have swapped places. One ends up in London and is living with her very rich mother and butler in London, while the other is living with her very rich father and butler in California.
Okay, but
her, it's just her dad, Steve.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
the one I will never get their names right, so I'm just gonna say Vineyard Girl or London Girl. the one who lives at the vineyard with her dad.
Yes.
Hal.
She finds out that the other girl has a butler, and she goes, "We have a butler." It's like, but you have one. I don't.
Well, she's not a butler.
Isn't that
Cass
family
is,
friend.
She's a personal chef.
Yeah.
Is what Cass is.
Isn't
All
that
right.
Jesse?
Well, that's
Jesse.
basically a butler.
Wait, who's
anyway.
Cass then? Who's Cassie?
I don't know.
Maybe there was no one in this
There's
movie
no
named
one named
Cassie.
Cassie.
All right, so Jessie.
Jesse.
Chessie.
Was her name.
Whatever.
That's why I thought it was Cass. Cass and Jesse,
Bit of a
put them
stretch.
together,
Alright.
you get Chassis.
But yeah, I just thought it was weird. She was like surprised by that.
Yeah, if I owned a vineyard, I wouldn't want to cook.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to cook.
First of all,
That's true.
I'm making wine all day. I ain't cooking.
first of all, hammered all day.
All day. I gotta
All
test
day.
it.
But yeah, so they do the swap.
Yeah.
We see both sides of the story, and this part is pretty standard. Meeting the parent you never met. They're both
Mhm.
trying to like hold back their little 9-year-old emotions.
Yeah.
Of, wow, I just met my parent for the first
Oh,
time.
my dad's trying to fuck a 26-year-old. I'm pretty pissed off about it. I just met him and I already hate him.
Yeah,
And
but
I like how they do the so when they first leave the camp, they say, "Oh, my flight." Lindsay Lohan says to the other Lindsay Lohan, "Oh,
I
My
mentioned
flight-
this too.
my flight isn't gonna, I'm not getting picked up for another couple of hours." So it's like, okay, we could watch the whole
Yeah.
journey home, the whole
Mhm.
montage home, and the
'cause-
whole meeting the family,
Mm.
and then go back and do the same thing with the
For the other
same
one.
girl, but it's
No.
just a different house.
yeah,
But my thing is they're swapped at this point. So the girl who knows when her flight back to London was like, "Are you leaving soon?" And she's like, "No, my flight's not for a couple of hours." And he's like, "You should have known that."
wait, but like you were the one with that ticket, and you were the one with that ticket.
All right. I think you're
I'm poking holes in this
You're
shit.
poking holes in a 9-year-old's mind.
Yeah, this is not like Tenet. Like this is
I
not.
could
like
drive a truck through that plot hole, all right?
They're not like timelines moving it.
Yeah,
different
one Lindsay
directions.
Lohan is moving backwards through time while the other Lindsay Lohan is moving forwards through time.
Back to when they were twins, and then it just comes out as one, and they stay together, but only had one kid.
Jesus.
And then my nose
All right.
explodes blood.
Time's a circle, Steve.
Oh my God, shut up.
It brings even estranged
No,
couples
we're
back
talking about the
together.
goddamn Parent Trap. I'm not getting a nosebleed on this episode. So
Yeah,
they're they're understanding the subtleties of each other's households, and Annie, who is now pretending to be Hallie, is like, "Oh no, Dad is falling in love. I need to break this bitch."
with a
bitch.
terrible person.
Oh my God,
Just
she's
terrible.
the worst.
Literally, Cruella de Vil.
What's her name?
Cruella.
Oh, yeah. No, but she's on
That's
the...
what they call it.
Like,
Cruella. It's Cruella.
And they don't even pull, like, they don't even give you, like, the benefit of the doubt.
Nope.
It's like, oh, the little girl just doesn't like her dad's new boyfriend, or girlfriend.
Here's the only thing that could go wrong with the rest
no.
of the movie.
But,
Yeah.
like, their first scene with this girl is, she's like, oh, my God, it's so awesome meeting the famous Hallie. Oh, that's great. Anyway, let me take this phone call from a priest, and I'm going to tell him to go fuck himself when it
Right.
comes to money.
No, we will not be giving you any money. I had to tell a little white lie.
Yeah.
And then so the girls are calling each other to, like, spill the tea. And back in the 90s, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it would have been $400.
International calls. Like, you would have known if your kid was making international calls,
And then
right?
I like how the first time she's like, I'd like to place a collect call to America. And it's like, okay, back then there would have been operators.
Yeah.
They would have helped you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
would have taken an hour to get that phone number, and that would have been $74.
yeah. Where did she get that
Hey-
that money in quarters?
Hey, Hal, why is the phone bill $700? There's like a 40-minute collect call to London? That's where your mother lives. That's weird.
You'd think they would notice that. I mean, they were only there for like 2 weeks or something.
2 weeks before they switch them back.
Well, they were getting married in 2 weeks.
Oh, in 2 weeks,
So
yes.
all of this happened.
I get maybe more like a week.
Yeah, all of this
Yeah.
happened in like 8 or 9 days or something like
Mhm.
that, because they had to wait a bit, and then it was the weekend.
Yeah. But like
And
my
then they went camping for a couple days.
Yeah.
my
True.
favorite is when she takes one of the phone calls and she's like hiding in the coat closet and she falls out and they're like, what the heck? Like all of a sudden her entire family is watching her crawl out of this closet.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, it's an old camp tradition. Call your best friend from a closet.
From a closet.
Anyway, I wasn't doing
Right then
anything
and there,
weird
it's
in
like,
there.
all right, we're drug testing Hallie. This
think-
is ridiculous.
I think some of my favorite lines from Lindsay Lohan 1 was when
Lindsay Lohan won.
like she's talking to the butler and it's like real friendly, but like when she was embarrassed, she was like, "Oh yeah, it's just something we do. That'll be all, Marvin." And he's just like,
He's like,
"That's not how that normally
Yeah.
goes."
But you can tell during these scenes that like, both butlers are getting suspicious. It's like they know them better than their own parents do, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
like
it's
the parents are the last people to
completely
figure it out.
Yeah, well, they didn't care about him very much. If they're just like, "Well, they look the same. Pick one."
all right,
Yeah,
you take that one, I'll take this one.
Clearly.
Right.
I'm going to London.
Oh
Fuck
my
you.
God. But yeah, so the butlers start to get in on the like, something seems
No, the
off.
butlers start to get in.
Yeah.
Oh, the
There's a
butlers
whole-
get it in.
Yeah.
Sub love plot. I'm
Oh,
a
that
sucker
too.
for a sub love plot.
But like while they're still, apart, Chessie is like the first one to be like, "You're
Hey,
not you."
You're not
Yeah.
eating my chili like you normally do.
Yeah.
And they get
You're different.
Yeah.
They get so emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So emotional.
I just raised her from a daughter.
This was is how just I'm gonna react. And then when Dennis Quaid comes in, he's like, "Why are you looking at her like that?" And she's like, "This is the same way I've looked at her when she was born. This is 7 pounds, 11 ounces, little bottle of joy."
And he's just like, "All right." Anyway.
make you some more
Like-
chili.
He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave now."
Yeah, he doesn't pay any attention.
That's definitely
to
not
that.
a weird reaction from my personal chef.
Also-
Anyway, let me tell you about how I'm sticking it to this 26-year-old.
I gotta hand it to Dennis Quaid. If I walk into if I
A
walk
womb.
into a room and there's a woman crying, I'm probably gonna want to leave.
I just walk right back out.
It's like, I didn't make her. I'm leaving.
This is not my fault. No, but so the whole thing unravels, and Hallie or Annie calls Hallie Annie in London and is like,
Called
"Hey,
Hallie Annie.
your dad
Lindsay
is
Lohan too.
your dad is getting married to Cruella DeVille. We need to break this to
We
the
have
parents
to.
now."
Mhm.
So the grandfather in the London house is like, "I knew you were a fake. Get
You-
in there and tell your mother."
You
Yeah.
mean the one that smells of peppermint and pipe tobacco?
And pipe
Yeah.
tobacco, my favorite.
Mhm.
She's creating a memory of smells.
Pipe
Mother,
tobacco.
the bathroom smells like shit. I will remember that always.
Now, it's kind of a legit way to remember stuff, but fine, we can go.
No,
with-
I'm going to make a joke of it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's
But
good.
the grandfather gets her to admit to the mother, "Hey, I'm not your daughter. Send me back to America."
With
I don't.
us.
I don't think the mom reacts big enough.
She really
And
doesn't.
I don't think the dad does either. She's
They're
just like,
"Oh, you little merry
"Oh."
pranksters."
"Oh, my other daughter I haven't seen in 12 years."
let's just have your mom drop $600 on a flight so we can get you back to California.
Again, Steve, they're not thinking about money. They
Right,
have
I
it.
forgot they're
They
rich.
have it. They have it, so they don't think about it.
I'm sorry.
So this time, the parents do accompany their children instead of just sending them on a plane with
It's like they didn't
nobody,
watch-
like they did to camp.
It's like they didn't watch Home Alone. You can't send kids alone on planes. They end up in wrong places all the time.
They're really bad with boarding passes.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Boarding passes and gate numbers. It's
Oh my God.
ridiculous.
But yeah, so now the mother flies to America and the father flies to America and
Well, they go to California because he's getting
yeah,
married.
I know.
Okay.
I was just being stupid.
The-
But they all end up at a hotel?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Because
Okay.
that's where they were already planning to spend the weekend to see if they wanted to pick that as a wedding venue.
Oh, I
So
see.
2 weeks in advance. Who plans a wedding in 2 weeks?
Well,
Who picks their venue 2 weeks before their wedding? Let's just ask that.
Again,
clearly a
if
quickie
there's
wedding.
no real budget, you can just
Oh,
kind of do
right.
whatever you want.
You'd be like, I have $100 grand. And they're
Also,
like, okay.
one of the first sentences we said during this podcast is plot convenience.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of plot convenience.
Right.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of like pressure of time for them to break them up. It can't be like, oh, well, they're getting married in like a year and a half. So like
Yeah.
we got
Oh,
time.
okay. Well, in 6 months we'll get them
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
No relationship ever crumbles after a year and a half. But yeah, so they all end up at this hotel, and Dennis Quaid sees a London lady from across the pool,
Elizabeth Taylor.
and he's like, I'm in love. This is great. I
He-
forgot everything why we broke up because
Right.
we were obviously the perfect couple.
He like instantly, it's this, seeing each other from across the room sort of scene.
from across the room.
But like they're divorced and they haven't seen. Like, do you really think your first reaction would be like, "Oh my god"?
It's like you haven't talked to your daughter in 11 years. Like, and you're in love with your wife again? Like,
Just-
what?
Suddenly,
Yeah, why not?
didn't have to think about it.
It's like, I don't have to talk to the one in London. I got a carbon copy right here.
It's so rough.
No, I'm just, over exaggerating, obviously. But yeah, it's
But yeah, everything went pretty well.
they take that trope of love at first sight, but it's like love at second sight.
Love at second sight.
Love
I
at
like
second
that.
sight.
Yeah.
Love after
Well, and
rejection.
she was unhappy because it's like, tell me why. I just saw your father in the lobby and he looks like he was not expecting me.
Yeah, and it's like, tell me why there was some
She
hot
was-
piece of butt
She
wrapped
was
around his
surprised.
arm.
She was surprised that they like tricked her into doing this. It's like
Yeah.
what they swapped parents.
It's
You
like
think
they
they're not-
didn't realize the name of the movie was The Parent Trap.
Right.
They're obviously trapping you.
Clearly, Elizabeth Taylor did
Yeah.
not read the whole script. We say it a lot. Read the whole script,
Yeah, and then you'll know the plot, and then your character won't be that surprised.
right?
But yeah, I think they didn't want to tell the dad because they thought he would back out
they,
or
they-
like
they
not
already
show
knew
up.
the dad was going to be there.
Yeah.
So it was like, just how do we get mom
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the
That's
same
true.
building?
So the parents get fed up, and they're like, all right, you know what? I'm going back to London tomorrow, and I'm taking one of you with me, and I don't give a shit who it is.
Well, we're not telling.
Yeah. And like, again, shitty parents. Know which one your daughter is.
Oh, they haven't seen him for 11 years.
Yeah, you don't know the
Yeah.
difference if you haven't been looking at him side by side.
I was
Yes,
right
Steve.
up to Dennis Quaid, and he's like, no, I know for sure. This one's Hallie. And then he's like, wait a second. Shit.
They do the classic camera pan.
Yeah.
Then he looks back and the camera pans just slower than the head turn. Oh,
Right.
classic.
So they come up with the deal that if the actual mother comes on this camping trip,
Right.
at their annual family camping trip after she gets back from camping for 2 months, she's going on another camping trip. Yeah, right? But if she goes on this camping trip, then they will reveal who the real Annie and who the real Hallie is, and then they'll go their separate ways, and we'll never have to see each other again. But the mother throws a wrench into this, and she's like, no, take your 26-year-old whore out into the woods and leave me at home with your personal chef, and we're gonna
gonna hang
dish.
out.
We're gonna kick it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna have girls' night over. We're gonna watch movies and talk shit on you and your, and your
Right.
kids.
I really like Jessie
Yeah,
as
she's
the
great.
character. She's
Oh, she's
hilarious.
great.
And then the butler, of course, is they're both.
Honestly,
The
I was
movie
more
wouldn't-
happy they got together than the parents.
Yeah, and if they weren't in the movie, this was a completely different film. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it was on if it was by design, then fantastic for
Mhm.
whoever wrote that and then whoever casted those characters. Well done. But or there's a lot of times where they're like, yeah, well, once we got on set, we spent, because a lot of times you'll get to set like before any shooting goes
Mhm.
on because you need to build an emotional like.
Yeah, you got to build a
we're
friendship with the people.
Steve and I are gonna play husband 1 and husband 2 in a movie, and then it's just like we keep bumping our like we can't even like hold hands and make it look natural. It's like you kind of have to spend time with people.
Oh, trust me,
So-
it'll look natural.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, we're good.
But so a lot of times with that, they'll like get together and spend some time and like have a few dinners just to get to know each other before
Yeah.
they start filming. So I don't know if it was like one of those cases where once they got together, they were like, these two guys are hilarious. We should
Right.
probably touch out some of their lines and make them a bigger.
Yeah.
Or if that was by design, then well
Mm.
done.
So are you saying they locked Lindsay Lohan in a room with a mirror so she could get to know herself?
Get to
better?
know yourself. She's like doing
No, it's
the
just-
Heath Ledger
just-
Joker treatment.
It's just her and the 12 lookalikes, and they're just like, we'll see if you're still Lindsay Lohan after 2 weeks.
They just lock her in a whole like funhouse mirror room,
Right.
And they're just like, all right, find yourself.
How many versions of you can you be? For this
I-
much money, at least 2.
I'm Annie. I'm Hallie.
They locked her in a funhouse mirror room with a dialect coach. It was just like, when you come out, you're British.
My God.
English. London's in England. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
Mm.
Sorry.
Ooh, buddy.
English accent. Sorry.
We almost lost our entire viewership over there.
Also, I'm not sorry at all. Brush your teeth.
Tea party, motherfucker.
Right? Hey, Boston, ring a bell?
Oh my god.
Mm.
George Washington pull any fucking... Anyway.
All right. So we're
The ending of
about
The
this-
Parent Trap.
yeah.
So they go on this camping trip, but it's the dad's new girlfriend, the dad, and the 2 daughters.
The camping trip is the funniest part of the
it's
whole
the
movie.
Yes.
best part of
The
It's
it.
best
the-
part of the movie.
the most shenanigans happen.
And I don't think Dennis Quaid ever actually loved this girl. I think he was just trying to find like a fine like fly honey while his daughter was away. Because like when they're pulling all these pranks on her, like he doesn't really seem to care.
He's just like,
they
oh,
literally
shucks.
drug her out into the middle of a lake on her inflatable air mattress, and he's just like, oh, these kids, they're fucking up again.
You're just like, oh,
he looked kind of pissed
man.
about that one because he's like, I'm gonna have to go get her.
He's like,
Yeah. Well,
I
she
have to
did.
swim.
She did swim back to shore though.
But I mean, he does say, thank you for doing that because
Well, but
he knew he shouldn't have been. But according to Lindsay Lohan too, she was number 29.
But like, all right. So the one, she walks up to him after like climbing out of this fucking lake, and she's just like, "You need to choose right now, either them or me." And he's just like, "Well, them, of course." And then like, they break up, but then they get back to the house, and he's like, "You kids are fucking assholes. Get in your room and don't talk to me for a week." It's like he was totally fine with it down at the beach.
but also he didn't seem that upset either way.
Yeah,
like,
no, he
I
was
wouldn't
just,
have been. She was kind of.
he goes straight to the wife, and he's like, "Hey, so you
Also-
doing dinner tonight?"
So I have a wedding plan. Do you want to sneak in on that?
She's his publicist,
Yeah.
and she got one phone call the whole movie.
Mhm.
Not a very good publicist.
A terrible publicist.
First of all,
she was too busy trying to take his vineyard
well,
fortune.
if she's a publicist and the only phone call she gets is someone asking for their money,
Yeah.
that's a bad publicist. So first of all, she's not doing her job. Second, you could tell she just wanted the money. And her parents were awful.
Oh,
They were
terrible
like,
people.
Oh, yes. And
How
he's-
many can
he's
we
the-
expect
He's
at the
the
wedding?
greatest guy in the world. There's millions of reasons why you'd like him. And the dad's just like, yeah, sounds good to me. Sell yourself for money, my
Anything
daughter.
can be
Yeah.
bought and sold with the right amount of oil.
He's like, I'm glad I could offer my daughter for wealth. That's basically what he was saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Shitty parenting.
so she's out, and
Yes.
they dropped her off at home.
They dropped her
Um,
off in the middle of a canyon and left her there.
And this is where they just roll right into this relationship with the
Yeah.
mom and the
Boom.
dad. Like,
The daughters are like, "Hey, we're going out to dinner tonight, but we're not going to tell you where."
Right.
So
This is sneaky.
they-
After
they-
all this, they agree to something
Yeah.
like that. They're like, I'm
So
not going.
they drive out. They're going on to the Queen Elizabeth II, which was the boat that apparently they fell in love on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're having their own personal dinner, and like the two butlers are there, and like I love the London butler, and he's like, and I hope you won't fire us over two precocious little girls.
Right? I still would like my weekly paycheck.
Yes.
And they also say that the grandfather paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like,
just
well, of course.
Well, we pooled our allowances, and grandfather chipped in a little bit, and then they look at her. Grandfather chipped in a lot
Yeah.
because that was a like 100-foot yacht.
Right.
Yeah, clearly they weren't giving the invoice to a 9-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
So it's also a 100-foot
Totally.
yacht. That was not cheap.
It's not
And they
cheap.
rented the whole thing out. There was no staff.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
and they brought their own staff, so they might have got a discount for that.
Right,
Maybe,
right.
maybe.
But yeah, so they have their dinner and they have their emotional conversation where it's like, yeah, but it didn't work last time, so it won't work this time. Anyway, I'm going back to London. Bye bye.
They almost kiss.
They almost kiss.
But then she's like, no,
No, I
I
can't.
can't.
I simply
We're
can't.
divorced.
I
But
can't love you, Dewey. We're just friends.
the
Yeah,
steamier
totally.
moment is between
The two
Jesse
butlers
and
British guy,
and-
Yeah,
London
British
guy.
what was his
guy.
name?
I don't know.
It started with an M.
Michael,
No,
Maddie,
it was
Martin.
Malcolm. or
Martin.
Marvin.
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 So they're in, of course, the small. The hallways are going to be small on a
Yeah, and
boat.
they're like, "Can you hand me your paprika?"
No. No, that wasn't it at all. It was, they're gonna hand out the sous vide or not the sous vide, the whatever.
Sous vide.
Hand me the oregano.
There was the whatever they were doing was like, I'll serve you ladle or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then they can't turn around each other in the small hallway. I guess I'll ladle and you serve.
I guess. Oh,
Steamy.
yes.
Steam.
It was
very
was
good.
It 98? Steamy.
Yeah, well, this is again part of there was a lot of like sexual moments like this that I didn't pay much attention to as a kid.
Let's take a few minutes and just go over some of those things. Watching this movie as a kid, I felt much different
Yeah.
when she had to jump in the lake with no clothes on
Mm.
than I did as an adult
Oh,
watching
yeah,
this film.
That was
That was
weird.
very
I have,
uncomfortable.
I
I didn't
have
like
not
that.
watched this film since I was under 18.
Yeah.
One more time. I
was
have
under
not. I have
18.
not watched this film since I was a child. So when I was a child, I was like, "Oh my word, that's a girl my age with no clothes on jumping in the lake. That's awesome." Now, as an adult, I
You're
was like, "Put
"Ew."
some fucking clothes on, young lady." I was like, "Why are we allowed?
Youngness.
Why is this in the movie?"
Yeah, like why are you filming this?
Yeah.
Like what the fuck?
It feels weird to
It was
to
a little
watch that scene.
awkward.
But then like also it's weird that the girls are encouraging their parents to like have
like, hey,
sex.
it's like, hey, mom, bend over. Dad, isn't that a great ass?
No, it's not like that, but like
It's just way too much, Steve.
Steve's in a mood today. But no, like
Sorry,
seriously, it's
Anyway,
They didn't help that much.
no.
They set the scene for not a relationship building exercise. It was more of a
Yeah.
like, ooh.
Yeah, well, like they do that to each other where they're like, all right, well, we're gonna leave you two on this boat together, and then they're like, have fun.
Right?
It's
You're
like,
"Gee,
what are you
that's-
implying? You're 10.
condoms are in the ice bucket.
It's actually, we want siblings. There are
Yeah.
no rubbers on board.
But yeah, so she decides, well, the mother decides that they're going back to London. She's going to take one of the daughters with her. Doesn't matter who's who, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
It's just too much.
Yeah, so
It's
they
too much.
they go back to London, and
She takes the right one.
she takes the right one. And
Lindsay
the-
Lohan won.
yeah, and by the time she gets back to London, Lindsay Lohan too and Dennis Quaid are already in her house, and they're like, I already let you go once.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you go again.
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah.
Love finds a way.
Mhm.
Love finds a way, Steve.
What is this, Jurassic Park?
No,
So
it's
they
the
sh-
answer to
They
everything.
show us a montage of them getting home,
Oh, did they? Did they show
Only
us a
to-
montage?
only to cut to them getting inside,
Yeah.
and boom, who's behind the newspaper? Lindsay Lohan won.
But you
Or two. I forget
No,
which
and,
one's
and
which.
she brings up some good points. She's like, what do you expect me to do? Give up my life in London? Like, keep the girls for like a year over in London, year over in California, and Dennis Quaid is just like, "Or you could just kiss me now, and we could worry about that later."
Which is like the appropriate male response of like, thought
Sex.
process. No.
Sex first, then details.
I thought I was going to get lucky, and you're talking about travel arrangements? No.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, so I want to
It's
know
one thing
who's
on
going to
his
give
mind.
up their business.
It's the
like,
90s, so the woman.
Because like she could technically design fashion in America and still
She could.
sell it over in London.
But all
He
of her-
couldn't grow California wine in London and still call it California wine.
But he could hire people.
He could hire people. He could remote work.
I bet.
You could have it.
Now, this is going to shock you, Steve.
Yeah, I would love to.
I bet if they combine their finances, they could just do whatever they wanted.
They could sell both businesses.
They could
and
just
start
do
fresh.
whatever they wanted.
It's like we're retiring with $1 billion.
I don't know if they have.
We're gonna go get a house in the
No, but I mean,
mountains.
you double your income from two well-off folks, and
Yeah.
now your travel budget's a little bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think they were more concerned about like school and stuff. But yeah, they never really explain how they're going to
Well, because
solve all that.
Love found
Doesn't
a way.
matter.
Because they kissed and then now
Because
they're in love.
Divorce is stupid, and we all really love each other, even though you split apart.
Yep.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
that simple.
50% of marriages end in divorce, and you know what?
They're all still in love.
all of them. They all should,
If
They
get
should
back
just
together.
get back together.
If they had twins and both parents succeeded,
if they were both rich.
then this can happen.
I would have loved it if it was just like they should do a parody, but it's two kids that look completely different and they switch places.
It's
It's
just
like, hi, Dad, I'm Haley. He's like, you're a dude. I'm like, what? It's like, I sent a daughter to camp and I came home with a son. What?
They went to summer camp, came back black. How
It's like,
how'd
how
you
did
do
that
that?
happen?
They're fraternal twins instead of identical twins.
a couple of gene mutations.
Yeah.
But that's basically it.
That's the
they
Parent Trap.
they
The parents
end
got
it.
trapped.
They end it with a like photo montage
Yeah.
now of them getting married again.
Yeah, their happy life together and everybody's happy again and divorce is broken and will never take effect again because they love each other.
No,
they definitely
it's-
won't have the same problems they had previously
Definitely not. They
with
didn't
her
work
chucking
anything
a hair
out.
dryer at his head.
Yeah, love finds a way. Hello. Love found a way for all of this.
Yep.
All of
did.
it.
It did.
The last point I want to make about everything is I was telling this to Steve. If I was either of those girls switching places, wouldn't you have like a little bit of resentment for the parent that left you behind? Wouldn't you be like, what?
It's like, oh, so I wasn't
Why
good
didn't
enough for
you-
California?
Why didn't
Probably
you
not
like
at
try
10.
to reach out? Like, why didn't you? I don't know. Like, make any sort of connection. I don't know.
Right.
No,
Why didn't you
probably
tell me
'cause-
about my sister?
Probably because there was 10.
Why didn't you tell me I
Social
had a
media
mom?
wasn't really a thing.
Yeah. That's a
I
good
mean, I
point.
don't think it has anything to do with social media. I just think like
Well, the ease of
He coulda-
connection.
he coulda
People used to-
tweeted.
Yeah, but you know how many dudes used to have two families back when the internet wasn't a thing? A lot of
before
them.
MySpace.
A lot of them. Before the internet happened, there was a lot of men with two families.
now there's too much proof out
Now there's
I
you
know.
can't get away from it. It's like, what, on traffic cam 6,874, you were over here.
there. I don't know. Maybe that'll come up in their teenage years later.
It's like
Yeah.
you got caught on the
Dad-
neighbor's ring camera.
Dad, why didn't you pick me?
That'll
Why'd you
happen
pick
in the
her?
Parent Trap too.
Yeah.
The re-divorce.
the,
The divorcing.
the divorcing.
But yeah, I mean, I the other thought I had about this movie was if you haven't seen it up until now,
You're dead.
first of all, did you live under a rock? But
Yeah.
second, it wouldn't have that same like nostalgia.
Yeah, no. You would go and watch this today and be like,
That's a
I
terrible
hate
movie.
this movie.
Yeah.
But if you grew up watching it, you're like, no, there's something about this. It's
Yeah,
special and it's fun.
Yeah, it's mostly nostalgia. I think.
I think when you suggested it, I was just like, oh, my word, that's a great, let's
It's
do
a great
that.
movie.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is the first movie we've covered on the show that's like from our growing up.
Yeah, from our like childhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say
So-
wholesome.
so tune in a couple weeks when we do VeggieTales series.
Oh,
No,
Veggie
no,
Tales.
no.
Veggie Tales, Veggie Tales.
You guys draw the line on
Broccoli,
all of my fucking movies.
celery,
I'm done.
Gotta be VeggieTales. never, ever show like VeggieTales.
All right.
Turning
Don't
the
turn me,
volume
don't turn me down.
But yeah, I mean,
It was
I-
kind of fun to
it
go
was
back
fun.
and
Yeah.
and watch one. And
We should go
I
back
was-
and watch more movies from
I
our
was
childhood.
honestly, because with everything that's going on nowadays, it's like when you go back and watch some of these older movies, you just realize how insert
simple
garbage
things were.
insert garbage here.
Yeah.
But other than the jumping in the lake, there wasn't anything where I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
Right.
ooh, society's changed a bit since then.
Yeah,
it
it's like they
wasn't
weren't
cringy.
making any like jokes that you were like,
Nope.
"Ooh, that wouldn't fly today."
Yeah.
Like it was a genuinely wholesome, just
Yep.
good movie.
Yeah.
And it, of course, since we've watched it when we were all,
Like
young teenagers, it was like I was 98, so I was like 6 or 7 when this came out. Probably watched it when I was the same age as the girls in the movie. Well, Lindsay
girl
Lohan
in the
1
movie.
and 2.
and The Mirror.
But so I watched like kind of a behind the scenes
Mhm.
thing, and they had an interview with Lindsay Lohan when she was that age, and it was funny 'cause she was talking about how they did it with the body doubles, and then she'd have to shoot half the scene, then the other half the scene, then they'd have to go back and see, oh no, you put your arm through yourself. And so she said it was a little bit weird. She said it was different, but it
Yeah.
ended up being easy. And I'm just like, okay, when I was 10 years old, I probably wouldn't have done very well at this. It's like some people, and that was what one of the directors was like, the fact that they were able to, that she was able
Yeah.
to do this at that age was pretty cool.
Yeah, no,
As I was thinking about it, I was like, 'cause
that's got to be hard.
most of the times they would have just a monitor
Mhm.
with the other character on it, but for her age, that's why they did the stand-ins, and so that's why they made a lot of the scenes the way they did, was because she was so young. They wouldn't get the same emotion from a monitor as if there was another person standing
Right.
there. So that was good. And I never looked at how it was done or how it
Yeah.
was made. So I was like, I wonder how they did this in the 90s. It was pretty cool,
It's like some secrets I want to go to the grave.
right?
I don't want to know how they did the
Well,
Parent Trap.
And that's the thing. Like they didn't, like it didn't. A lot of times you're like, oh, how did they make that? And you're like, really, a tennis ball on a stick? Was that that's how they did it? And this one,
so everything was shaded green.
right, cool. Oh, great, awesome. And then it ruins it
Yeah.
like it takes you out of it. But this one was one of those ones I was like, that's actually
it's
pretty
like, that's
cool
pretty
how they
neat.
did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I might be able to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun movie. I
Classic.
enjoyed watching it again, and
Yeah, I mean, I think
About
that's
it.
all we really have on the Parent Trap. So until next week when we're trapping everybody else's parents. I don't know what that
I call
was.
Steve's mom.
all right, bye guys.
Yeah, bye.